come in just striking poses. This is a Uganda heron from South America, just this incredible bird. They have so much energy, and they're also found in all different habitats around the world. And because they're found in all different habitats, they're a good indicator telling us about what's going on with these habitats. They're even found in the middle of the ocean. And the other thing about birds is that there are people around the world, like us, who enjoy going out and looking at birds. The birds kind of connect them to nature. And what we want to do is we want to support a positive relationship by using technology to support, to support the public community's connection to birds, and through that create data that's useful for science that can have an impact in conservation. And so this is what I'm going to talk about right here, is how we're using technology to support communities so that we can understand what's going on with birds and make good conservation decision making. I'm going to start with this part, how we're using technology to activate public and support birding communities. And that really is these free tools for birders. The eBird app, which we used this morning, that allows you to register birds, and then the Merlin app, which allows you to identify birds. So we talked about this morning, but this is an eBird checklist, and I know that you probably can't see the text because the screen is small, but I think that the key things about an eBird checklist is that an eBird checklist is a list of birds that you saw at a particular date and a particular location. In addition, when we do a checklist of birds, we try and record the effort, how far you went, and how much time you spent birding, and the count of birds. With this information, we can create tools for birders. Whoa, that was cool. We can create tools for birders and also data for science. The cool thing is going back to that community of birders around the world, it is amazing how many people like to go birding. That's why it's kind of a good career being a bird guide. There's a lot of people who love to go birding. This right here is a graphic. I'm going to show you a graphic of one day of eBirders around the world. And this was in 2023. This is showing checklists where people are waking up in the east and during the day. All of those points are just one day of people doing eBird checklists around the world. That was in 2023, in May 13th, 2023, people uploaded over 300,000 checklists in one day. This is data that we can use. Here is a map of eBird checklists around the world. You can see that, eBird started in North America, and so that's where it's brighter. The brighter it is, the more checklists. There's nothing else on this map. There's no country polygons, nothing else. This is just eBird checklist. And as a result, this global community around the world has uploaded 1.8 billion observations. A single observation is I saw this bird, this species, at this date and location. People have done that 1.8 billion times. They've uploaded 67 million photos and 2.5 million sounds. And so what are we doing with that? One of the main things that we do is that data drives Merlin. How many people have used Merlin? Every time you do a checklist, that checklist improves Merlin. Every time you upload photos, when you upload sounds, those photos and sounds make Merlin a better tool. The first thing is Merlin, and you may have explored this, is a free field guide. We have different photos that show you the male, the female, the young ones, the juveniles, as well as where the bird lives. You can play the calls, and it has text for identification. This field guide, because we're a global platform, we translate into languages around the world. So for example, here are all the different common names for this species. What is this species? Barn swallow. You could say it's a barn swallow, you could say it's an Andarina común, you say it's an Orineta comuna. You can say all these names, but they all refer to Corunda rustica, and this is what Marshall manages, is making sure that we are speaking the same language scientifically, but also using the common names that people are familiar with. And this is one of the things that we can work with eBird Uganda, is to improve the common names for East Africa. Now, one of the strengths of Merlin is that it's an online field guide. But one of the things that makes Merlin really unique is how we help you find that species account. And that is because of eBird. So, if you go to eBird, you can go and explore all those species accounts. But the cool thing is we try and filter it to the likely species that you're looking at. So for example, when I arrived in Uganda, I've only been here a couple of days, right? I'm not an expert on Uganda birds. The first thing I did when I got off the airplane, I went to the hotel, went straight to the hotel to the balcony to do an eBird checklist. It's like, here, I'm in Uganda, I'm going to do a checklist. I'm going to see what birds I can see, right? But I don't really know the birds of Uganda. So I go out there, I start looking at birds, I break out the field guide, and I open the field guide, and there's 1,448 bird species in that field guide. It's like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of species in this field guide. Which one? What is this weaver? You know, what is this hornbill? I'm looking at all of them. Well, what we want to do is help people by telling you not just what are all the species in East Africa, but what are all the species in Tebe, where I was standing right then. And we do that with this global database. Because we have all this data for every location, what we can do is we can create a list of the likely species for Entebbe. And so what we do is, here's a map of Kampala. What we do is we take all the checklists just from this box, just around Entebbe, and we say, okay, what are the birds here? Not the birds reported over here, not the birds reported over here in these different habitats. What are the species known from this location? And we give a list of those likely species. Not only that, but they tell you which species are more common. This list tells me the eastern plantain eater is, on that day, today, in Entebbe, for this week of the year, eastern plantain eater is the most frequently reported species. So if I'm trying to learn the birds, what I want to start with is what are the most common birds. The other thing you can do is you can sort it by family most likely. So if I see a duck, I want to know, of all the different species of waterfowl in Entebbe today, what are the most likely species? Because that's where I want to start. I don't want to start with every species of duck ever seen in Kenya, and Rwanda, and Uganda. I want to know what is known, what are the ducks that live in Entebbe? Or what are the species that are known here? And then I can say, okay, I'm going to start looking at these and see if that is the bird, that is the duck I saw flying by. We saw a yellow-billed duck. That's the one that we saw.